Hey, all. Welcome to this week's episode of the Sith Justice Warriors podcast, where we talk movies, comics, anime, gaming, and everything under the twin suns of Tatooine. This week, the gang is all here. Sirius has decided to show up. I'm just kidding.
Welcome back.
Hey guys.
Welcome back. And there is some comic book news. Let's start off with DC. It's D is before M. So DC has had some recent news with the exit of their president, Didio. And we got some intel from one of my favorite YouTubers, Caesar. Ethan Van Sciver.
Hail Caesar.
Hail Caesar. Anyway, in this article, Cosmic Book quotes Ethan regarding the fact that Ethan had a YouTube episode talking about with the loss of Dan DiDio, there is a understanding that with their 5G event that's going to happen, where I guess it's kind of like their new 52, if this commercially fails to bring in revenue that's worth keeping the company around, AT&T is going to close DC Publishing. If you've listened to Ethan a couple of times, he does mention the fact that parent company AT&T has oftentimes threatened DC Comics Publishing that if they don't get their act together financially, they're just going to close the publishing arm and just focus on the movies because they own the IP and they could do whatever they want with Batman and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Superman.
all the characters, yep.
Maybe you'll get the Snyder Cut. Who knows? But as Ethan, a little bit of background for those who don't know Ethan, which I'd be surprised if you didn't. Ethan has worked across both DC and Marvel. He's worked 27? Because he used to have the shtick where he was a comic book pro secret. So that's his YouTube channel, comic book artist pro secrets. And he would always say, beginning, he'd have 26 years in the industry, but I think he's now at 27. Who knows? That being said, I went on a tangent, but he is now a independent comic book artist and writer for his own IP called Cyberfrog, which has done very well for those who are in the know of Indiegogo and Kickstarter comics, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But Ethan tweeted out the fact that it's very possible that within 80 years of history, DC could be wiped out. I know that there are folks in the mainstream industry that are saying that's false, but let me stop there. Lumpia, what do you got on this one?
Well, this one's interesting, and I know Ethan talked about it a couple of days ago. I mean, they even updated this article that because at the time when they released it, they didn't know what it was. Did he quit or was he fired? I mean, it sounds like he was fired. It's interesting because you tend to forget that AT&T actually owns DC Comics. And Ethan's been pretty much saying this is like the end of comic books, and in truth, like I can see why, and it's scary because there was a really great article that I came across this week, which led me to telling you guys, let's talk about comics this week, because on CBR.com, actually, because you and I, we've been partaking in the Indiegogo crowdfunding Kickstarter sort of backing of multiple comics. And we've even talked about Billy Tucci. He's got the She, I think, on Indiegogo right now. And how successful Brian Polito's been with Lady Death on either Kickstarter or Indiegogo. But this article on CBR.com basically is that Kickstarter actually announced that 2018 was the biggest year to date for its comic book product category in terms of fundraising and on the number of projects. $16 million was pledged for comic book projects over the course of last year, which is up 26% versus 2017. Like, that's insane. like, and it speaks to this idea that, you know, maybe mainstream publishers such as DC and Marvel, maybe things just aren't working anymore for them. I mean, you have so many, like I said, you have so many quality books that are put out there via these sort of online crowdfunding things that people actually want to see. And I think this is basically where the industry is going. I mean, look, you know, I'll go to Ethan, for example. Like, he was very successful with Cyberfrog. I mean, you just have to be patient with a lot of these things. But at the end of the day, the products that come out of these, I will go to Brian Polito. Like, the quality of the and just the way that the fact that the artists really have quality control over their product is really great. So, like I said, I'm funding. I know Sora's Aurora Light is coming to Kickstarter, so I'm going to be funding that one. You funded a few of Polito's projects. Billy Tucci has some out there. There's a couple other people who've been in the comic book industry, as well as Ethan, that have put out other things. They're doing a Witchblade hardcover for the 25th anniversary. So, like, these are things that, like, people actually want these independent comic books. They used to be known as the independent comic book. Like, they're not, like, mainstream is losing its flavor, I guess. And there will always be a mainstream, but maybe not as many or not as much. I don't know. That's the sense I get from it. It would be sad to see DC disappear from the comic book sort of realm, but I'm not surprised if that's the way it's going to go. Maybe it's digital, but you still need an artist. You still need a writer. And maybe it's less comics. It's interesting too, because they're doing like a lot of these big DC pushes. Like, I know they're launching, like, I think, like, Black Batman. They're launching the Rebirth. They're doing New 52. So, like, DC is doing a lot of stuff. Like, it's just, probably this is a sign of the times and of the future of mainstream comics. You have these comic book shops like Zenescope who have this lifestyle that they sell that come with the comics, and it's actually like a really great business model that's so different, but it brings you the quality artists, the covers, like we talk about, like, what do you buy these things for? Is it the artist? You follow the artist, you buy the covers. Like, it brings what people are looking for, I guess. The people who truly are collectors, or the people who truly, like, are the ones who, I don't know. Serious, what are your thoughts? I took up too much time.
Yeah. Well, I know we talked about this on previous episodes, like, especially around, like, Comic-Con time, like, about, like, what's the main purpose for people buying comics? Is it for the story, or is it for the art, or maybe it's for both? And I feel like if it wasn't anybody else but Marvel or DC, like, I feel like this article probably wouldn't have been as big of a deal. But the fact that this is DC Comics, and let alone it's owned by AT&T, which I personally completely forgot. I mean, it's definitely a big deal. But I mean, like, but it goes to show you, with all these, like, with all this money that's being raised, for on Indiegogo for all these independent comics, it goes to show you that you don't necessarily have to belong to a major publisher in order to be successful. So I wouldn't necessarily, just because DC is, kind of like on the brink of, going out, doesn't necessarily mean it's really the ends of comics. Because especially, like, if New York Comic Con wasn't any, like, proof, and from talking to, like, numerous artists, like I had the chance to talk with David Nakayama at New York Comic Con, and he said that, when it comes to, like, Comic Cons, like New York Comic Con, Emerald City Comic Con, which I think is in Seattle, like these people really show up for the art. So like no matter what, like if they're being published like on like a popular company like Marvel or DC, or an independent such as like like Dark Horse or Zenescope, like people will follow no matter what.
Yeah, it's not that, and I agree with you. It's not the end of comic book, but mainstream is what I'm thinking. Just because that's the way this category is going. If you can look at the numbers, like with the Kickstarter thing, that's where people are spending their money. That's where they're, and these aren't cheap. They're asking for $25 for a comic, but it's a 48-page comic with a cover that you pick, plus like additions to it. So, I mean, it's you get what you pay for in a weird way, and you're happy. And I don't mean to cut you off, but I think we need to hear from Fan on this one, because you're the one who got me started on this, Fan, honestly.
Do you want the fire? Is that what you're trying to trick me into?
No, we want the truth. We want the truth.
Well, I've been following this for quite some time with Ethan, your boy Zach, and the whole Comicsgate crew. Like I probably mentioned in a previous podcast, that Ethan pointing out the slow decay of Marvel and DC, the in terms of the product they're producing for their customer and the target market, the demographic that they're trying to cater to. It's really disappointing. I mean, the question is, if I look at this paragraph, who wants to see Bruce Wayne not be Bruce Wayne, right? If I look at this paragraph, why do I want to pay $7.99 for a comic where Batman is not Bruce Wayne? Didn't we try that before with when Bruce broke his back?
Yeah.
With Azrael.
Yeah.
Now I don't know the sales for that.
I don't either, but at the end of the day, they brought him back.
And then I could go to Marvel, right? Nobody liked Ben Reilly. Nobody.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Nobody did.
Nobody did. I mean, he's still around, but everybody was pissed. And then also everybody, the point is, right?
Wolverine can't die.
Yeah. So my point is that, again, DC, and we'll talk on Marvel, but the mainstream comic books are changing core classic characters to cater to demographics that are actually smaller than the actual core comic book reader, who back in the day, Lumpia, you and I could only make $20 a month from all the chores, right? We used to do, but now we make what we make, and instead of tapping into our wallet, they're going for a demographic that have really no interest in buying comics. They're, at best, you'll get them to buy pop dolls, which for the most part, they're pretty cool. They're quaint, but then you compare it to like a Kotobukiya statue or the McFarlane toys. The details on that are just pale in comparison. It's basically we've turned DC and Marvel into basically Hot Topic. Do you know what I'm talking about, the store? Yeah. And I can't even laugh because it's I think it's funny, but it's also sad about how serious it is. They're looking for this fast fashion, quick buck to try to cater to a generation that instead of carrying the torch and passing it along, it's this idea that, for example, let's make Peter Parker just this loser person that just kind of gave up, or let's make Batman. If you ever watch Zach's reviews of the new Batman series, where let's make Batman an emo person who feels cucked because Selena Kyle left him at the altar.
Oh God, he never.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's clear that our opinions are our opinions, but it's clear that the money is not there. And so raising the prices of the comic books isn't going to change anything.
Yeah.
I have not followed DC very much, so I actually don't know how they're going to transition to a new Batman. Is it going to be like 52 or Rebirth? I don't know. I admit not as well versed with DC comics as maybe I should, but it's clear that the rumor was that DC has been failing, and the DC Pub Comics Publishing, and they needed to step up. And if they cannot deliver on this 5G, because I'll tell you what, T-Mobile needs to deliver 5G, AT&T actually needs to deliver 5G. I mean, 5G is such a new technology. Oh, we're talking about the comic book. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's kind of ironic that
It's called
AT&T.
5G.
Yeah, AT&T is a cell phone company that has to implement 5G, and they're having their comic books publishing arm call their event 5G. Sorry, that was a tangent, as you viewers know that I do. Yeah, I mean, they have to deliver, and what would be great is, for example, the Expendables, right? That's a franchise IP. That's a Sylvester Stallone, Jason Statham, Jet Li, and Dolph Lundgren, those guys, right?
Yep.
That comic book is in the hands of an independent publisher, Richard C. Meyer, aka your boy Zach. But that's my point, is that it's getting treated with the love and respect of the franchise. I have faith.
Signed a few, right? But that was like the pledge.
Sold out.
Like, they're sold out. Oh
yeah,
man.
if you want Sylvester Stallone to sign it, it was sold out, I think.
Damn, that was like $1,000 pledge, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's a lot. But actually,
it's a lot. But if you think about it, it's actually not.
For Sylvester Stallone to sign it, no, it's not.
That's why I was thinking about it. You know what? It's actually not a lot. It's actually fair, because they're going to use that $1,000 to fund the comic creation. But anyway,
no, but Sylvester Stallone's signature. How else can you get it?
Oh yeah, I know. I'm not out in Hollywood, so.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. So, but I digress. It's the point is that I would like it that they release Batman from DC, and the only person who could make a movie is Warner Brothers. I'm fine with them only making the movies, but just give the comic books to someone who cares. Like Danger Girl, Gen 13, give the comic book to someone who cares. Give it back to J. Scott Campbell. Witchblade, give Witchblade to Aspen, because clearly Silvestri doesn't give a crap.
Yeah.
Look at Brian Pulido, and we're gonna look at that Kickstarter. We're gonna put that on the screen one day. And Brian Pulido just takes care of his IP. Billy Tucci takes care of his IP. I don't know. I'm speaking of DC. Well, I'm sorry. We're going to move on to the next publisher. Though this is not as the drastic. It's our favorite. It's the gift that keeps on giving. That's not
the gift that keeps on giving. Oh.
It's fans' gift that keeps on giving. That's not Birds of Prey and not Kamala Khan. Yeah, well, the fact that they're saying that it dropped 10K in sales. Well, whoop-de-doo. How difficult was that to figure out? God, how many? So wait, hold up. Captain Marvel number 10. Do you realize how many times they rebooted the series?
Yeah, I don't really think it's like number 10 if you think about how many times they rebooted. So
this is sad.
It's kind of sad. Actually.
Anyway, I have to actually take some time to read the Dark Captain Marvel, because I have it on Marvel Unlimited, even though I have barely used it.
But remember, this is the introduction of Star as well.
Yeah.
Which I will say, J. Scott Campbell did do a variant cover, at least.
Yeah, of course, because J. Scott Campbell draws well. But anyway, yeah, so they were trying to do Carol Danvers to be dark. I have to find it. There's this picture of one of the panels, and it's dark Captain Marvel. I'll call her Dark Captain Marvel. But Dark Captain Marvel is like standing over a naked man, like she probably beat up. It looks like Tony Stark, and I'm like, what the hell? Did she just like rape the dude?
Oh my god, that's messed
But
up.
I don't know what was worse, the scene or the art, because it looked like a bunch of random sketches. Ugh. Anyway,
But
see, this, yes.
no, at the end of the day, I think what you take away from this is that look at that. Isn't that funny? It's pretty like that line right there. It says Kevin Feige said the comic book was one of Marvel's best selling.
Yes.
Was past tense.
So yeah, so it's quite interesting because
Oh,
that is a drop. There you go. There are the
look
numbers.
Look at that. It basically from 5 to 10, it basically only went up 1.5 thousand. Ugh.
Gosh.
Of course, it's because of this woman, Kelly Thompson.
No, well,
Ooh, but I will say, I do
go.
want this cover.
that's
I do want the
Brooks.
cover.
That's Brooks,
Yeah, it is Brooks. That is
Yeah.
Brooks.
who I do.
Wait. Are we gonna get this She-Hulk? Or are we gonna get a different She-Hulk?
Oh boy.
You know, Twitter has thoughts about that one.
This is actually a pretty good cover.
Twitter has
too.
thoughts on a lot of shit.
It is. Like I said, my thing is like
It is Brooks.
when
Sorry.
you take it down a notch, what this is signaling is that, you know, whatever big bet they put in this, I don't know, but this is also a sign of the times of like even big gaming game, like I can say gaming, but like this is a big bet for them to go and play the game of, you know what, we're gonna do Dark Phoenix for Captain Marvel. Like it's not enough, you know, and so it's great that Marvel gets the heavy hitters to draw the covers and brings in the variants and stuff. The sad part is that it's not enough, because if the story isn't there, if the following isn't there, it's obviously going to die down. So like the only reason August 9th was so high was because you had the first appearance of Star. So everyone who's a collector is going to buy that because it's the first appearance. But if she ends up dying, it's not really going to be matter much, you know? So
Well, Star only has basically a 4-issue comic, so she's really not planned to be anything bigger. I'm just shocked as well. When was that Captain Marvel when she took on the mantle of Captain Marvel? That was back in what, 2008 or something? I can't think off the top of my head. I do remember because it's in my stack somewhere, but how many times have they rebooted this?
too many to count.
Oh,
I actually wish she stayed Miss Marvel, you know? But then
oh no, we have the best Miss Marvel ever.
the gift that keeps on giving, like you said.
My gift that keeps on giving. So
But no,
Sirius, I think we've kind of. What's your thoughts, Sirius?
I mean, Captain Marvel. I mean, like especially with everything, like all like the the dividing of the people who saw the movie, and I think like even beyond that, like Captain Marvel was just naturally just one of those characters that's like you either like her or you don't. And I feel like especially with I actually had the pleasure of having that Dark Captain Marvel being sketched for me by Nick Varela at Comic-Con, just because I remember seeing the preview for that, and I was like, maybe this is what will take, maybe this is what will get people to actually like Captain Marvel again. And like especially with the story about her going after the Avengers and everything, like to try to make her, they're basically trying to turn her into a badass. And I feel like that's not necessarily the recipe to get people to like a character. I mean for me, at least in terms of the art, it's definitely intriguing. I still have no intention of like reading it, but like I said, like at least the art like intrigues me still. So I hope they, if they want to keep Captain Marvel, mainstream and keep Captain Marvel a popular character, they should at least, continue to, to do something, do things like this just to see if something like clicks and sticks. Because I think that's what's gonna come down to. Just have an intriguing story, like make people care about her. It's like I always say this when it comes to the upcoming phase 4 for like these like characters that I've always heard of but I've never been familiar with. Like it's if you're gonna convince me about these characters, put out a good trailer. And in this sense, if you want to get people to like Captain Marvel and keep buying their comics, keep doing stuff like this and see what resonates with all the demographics.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, for me, it's a sign of the times that pretty soon you're going to have a sort of I call it SKU rationalization. But basically, you're going to have to take stock of all your titles, and you're going to have to downsize and pick the ones you want to focus on. That, or you just, like you said, fan, you throw it out there and you put it in the hands of the people who care. Like, you throw it out there to J. Scott. I will tell you what J. Scott has done to help the Black Cat, like this resurgence of a character that, honestly, in my opinion, like I knew of Black Cat in the Spider-Man universe. I didn't think she was that important of a character, but like, he's actually made her relevant. Like, I actually think that the Spider-Man side of Marvel Comics is the one that's actually working well. Like, they're still trying to figure out the X-Men side. I'm trying to catch up on reading all that. They're trying to figure out the Avengers piece. The Spider-Man piece is actually working well. They introduced Miles Morales and people really took to him. They introduced Spider-Gwen and people actually really took to her. Like, they brought in this Black Cat. I call it the Black Cat resurgence. And if anything indicates, we talked about the next potential Spider-Verse movie could be, like, I don't know, they called it the Madam Web or something, Madam Web Project or something. So it could be Black Cat. It could be someone totally different. Like, but it's definitely probably going to be another character that isn't necessarily one of the Sinister Six. Venom is shooting right now, and they had some images of Tom Hardy and Woody Harrelson out on there. So, like, that side of the equation seems to be working, and I honestly think that might be what's keeping them afloat. I have to go look up the numbers now as we talk about the next topic, but I think that's what's keeping them afloat. And sadly, for DC, what should have been keeping them afloat would have been Batman, and it may not be working.
Well, so, let me just put a tangent here. I just want to say, 264,000, 25 days ago. Dan still has to actually buy it. So I'm just trying to figure out what covers I buy. But I just want to show you what quality is despite being independent.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. Look at this little team in Arizona. And look at this. This is the interior. This is like, if you look at the cover, right?
Well, you have multiple covers you could choose from.
Oh, yeah, that's true. But I'm just saying that there's not much of a drop off in quality here. Look at this. Look at that. Look at the dead bodies on the damn floor. Look at the head. Look at the head. The head is just severed. I'm just saying.
Severed head.
I'm just saying.
The Fiend Fund. No, I think that Brian Pulido does an excellent job with his intellectual property. Like, it's
a metal Microme edition. Anyway, sorry.
I hope you got that.
I'm still trying to figure that out.
But yeah. So my thing is, and I'm looking it up right now with the Spider sales because I need to know. I wish these things were like out there. They have to exist somewhere.
Oh, it's what is that?
Is it Comic-Con monthly comic sales? Here it is.
Yeah, it's Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Anyway, any last words on the topic of Marvel and DC's just not, they're not hitting it well. They're not hitting it out of the park.
Black Cat is actually number 4.
You gotta, so keep in mind this. You've got to
That's kind
keep
of funny.
in mind that's based on shipped, not necessarily
not
sell-through.
necessarily sold. But shipment in terms of shipment, Batman Detective Comics number 1000 was number 1 in 2019. Number 2 was Spawn 300. Number 3 was the X-Men reboot, Dawn of X. And then number 4 was Black Cat. And then number 5 was Deceased, I guess, this DC event. But anyway, I just thought it was interesting because I was just talking about it without even looking at this. Black Cat.
Mm-hmm.
J. Scott Campbell did the cover. Anyway.
Are we done with comic books? Because it's both nice to know that independent comics like Ethan and Brian and Billy could do so well being independent. And Zach. I mean, Richard C. Meyer. But yeah.
We can move on.
Moving on to another industry where we could see the end of an era is video games. So we touched on it a little bit. So this article by CCN, it talked about the PS5 being the last console ever. And so a bit of context is that there's a lot of things going on with the place. So if you're following all that PlayStation 5 rumors, there's the rumor that Sony's not sharing the price for PlayStation 5 because they're afraid that I think the rumor is that they'd have to minimum go 500. And if they're 500 in the same price as Microsoft Xbox Series X, the Series X is more powerful and at the same price. That's the rumor. I'm not going to get into fanboy stuff. Then the other rumor is that, actually it's not even a rumor, Sony pulled out of PAX East. So again, they're getting out of the whole circuit of promoting their games and their hardware. And so this article, it's back in February 17th. This article actually talked about how it really stemmed from Microsoft. So what happened was Phil Spencer, head of Xbox, had an interview, and he said, actually, it says it right here. Let me get to that point. He basically said, if I can even find it, here. When you talk about Nintendo and Sony, we have a ton of respect for them, but we see Amazon and Google as the main competitors going forward. No disrespect to Nintendo and Sony, but traditional gaming companies are somewhat out of position. They could try to recreate Azure. Azure is the Microsoft cloud server, but we've invested tens of billions of dollars in cloud over the years. And it's really about the fact that Microsoft is trying to compete with Google Stadia, the rumored Amazon game streaming platform, and I think there's other people throwing their hat in the ring, but it's the feeling that Sony, their business model is based on locking you into PlayStation. Same with Nintendo, but I think Nintendo sort of gets away with it. But that being said, we are console gamers, and I am slowly becoming a PC Master Race person. Serious. Do you think we will see the end of consoles?
I mean, time definitely will tell. I mean, it's kind of almost like, I feel like, and I know you've been both a PlayStation guy and an Xbox guy, but I've known a lot of people, in my lifetime with, between the PlayStation and the Xbox wars. I feel like, PlayStation users are very much like iPhone users. They're very like stuck on, they're very proud, of what they invest in. And I think that's great. But, like I said, it's like you said, like so many people are doing so many amazing things with games now where, Sony could definitely be in trouble. I mean, you have, you have Xbox, with its cloud, and now you're starting getting in, people are starting to get like these apps where you can actually access your games online as well. Especially if it's on the cloud. I believe, I'm not sure if it's launched yet, but doesn't Xbox have an app where you can access your games?
Yeah, and I can say that it's gotten better over the months. We're on the beta, and I have to say, so the one thing about it is that if your phone's, so I have what, a less than 6-inch phone, but it still feels really tiny. But that being said, to be able to do some Destiny while on vacation, I can't, or sneaking off to do that at work. That's really tempting proposition. So yeah, it works pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't tried it myself yet, but it's like, is it like it's so intriguing, especially now. Now, when it comes to like the cloud games, like, is it like specifically for like Xbox, or is it just like any game that you have saved on your cloud?
So this is a good question. So it's right now the beta is a select set of games, so you do not have to own the game in order to play it. So I was playing Ace Combat, for example. I don't own that game, but I don't know what the service is. They're being pretty cagey about it.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, like especially with like technology like this, I mean, it's like it may not necessarily be the end of like consoles, but they'll eventually. I don't know if they'll completely die out, but like you might definitely see a decline in console sales, especially if the PS5 is projected to be that much more, especially if the PS5 is going to be that much more expensive at the time of release than what the PS4 was. Then obviously people aren't going to buy them right away. They're just going to do what everybody else normally does. They usually wait till Black Friday, or they wait for somebody else to get it for them for their birthday. Or
I think for me, it's more like I can see consoles disappearing because everything will be on the cloud. You'll still need a way to get to your cloud. Like, don't get me wrong, but if it's via your phone, your tablet, that'll be interesting. But like, I could see the future being like, look how small Nintendo's consoles have gotten to the point with the Switch.
Mhm.
Like, so like, I could totally see it migrating that way. Even Xboxes, like the big gigantor Xboxes that we knew and loved are like now very slim and sleek, and even the PlayStation became slim. So like, I think it's going to be interesting, and that's an interesting statement because everything's going to be cloud based in my mind, and so I could totally see that. I don't think it'll get rid of the need of you need to play it on like a 4K TV to enjoy it, or a PC, like, but you definitely will need some sort of conduit for you to access your cloud, right? So I could see that trend be correct, but there's something in between. I feel like that it's not gonna go away immediately, but it's like there's gotta be a step in between getting rid of a console, but some sort of device that allows you to access it and play it. Either you stream it on your 4K, you play it on your PC, you play it on your phone, like that kind of thing.
Cool. So I think I'm gonna wrap it up, but before I go, I'm gonna squeeze this article for. I'm gonna squeeze this article for you. Serious.
Oh yes, we were looking
So,
for it last week.
I think South Park has actually been in the news lately. So this Danish sports lady talks about the South Park is creating trolls, and then I wonder if you've also seen the Twitter about the She-Hulk writer was slamming South Park that it should be canceled. and she also got attacked for it. Sirius, you're a huge fan, so I'm gonna give the floor to you, and then we'll wrap it up.
Good. Yeah. I mean, they should be targeted. I mean, like, I'll tell you what. I mean, and this may come off as going off tangent, but this is basically builds up to my point. Lupe and I just recently saw Post Malone in concert, and by the way, like if you're into Post Malone, like definitely go see him. Like the concert's a great show, and sitting to my left, there was this mother with her kid that was probably like no older than 11 years old. So it's like I got one side of the demographic to my left, and then in front of me there's this couple that's like they're almost 50 years old, and it's like I've never seen at least somebody at that type of concert like have that much fun, and like they're good, and like they're just enjoying life, and it's like, and like basically the segue to this, it's like just allow people to like what they like if it makes them happy, who gives a flying fuck? It's almost like people are trying to control what people like, just because other people like what you dislike. It's like they're the outcast, like they're like they have to be shamed for it. And it's like I've always been a fan of South Park, and I will never be ashamed to admit it, regardless of what happens or what direction they go. And it just makes me sick how people say that South Park creates troll. Well, yeah, if you bash something that such a large number of people like, you should probably expect some backlash. So it's like it shouldn't really come as a surprise to these people. So it's not necessarily being trolls. It's like it's people just defending what they like. Like that's pretty much what it comes down to. I mean, I've always loved South Park, just their delivery and like how they reach certain subjects, in a way that people can relate to and actually laugh at, as opposed to getting really serious. It's like Family Guy, for example. Like I love Family Guy, but when you compare Family Guy to South Park, like the directions they take their jokes are very, very different. South Park elaborates a specific concept throughout the entire episode, as opposed to Family Guy kind of makes quick jokes here and there. So it's basically if you miss that particular joke, they probably won't reference it throughout the episode. So it's they're kind of South Park. Family Guy is more of a 1-2 punch, kind of joke, whereas South Park, you could watch the whole entire episode. It's oh my gosh, it's the way they stretch everything out and and play it to everybody's understanding, I think is phenomenal. I mean, they've been around they're on what, season 22 now, going on season 23. I mean, God bless them. I mean, there's a reason why they've been around for this long. I mean, same thing with Family Guy. I think Family Guy's on season 18. Simpsons have been around for even longer. Simpsons have been around since the 1990s. So I don't even know what fucking season they're on right now. But it's the point is, it's they've proven the test of time, regardless of how much backlash they've had. So it's at this point, just shut the fuck up and just let people enjoy what they want to enjoy. If it makes them happy in their life, if that's their escape from whatever it is they're going through, it's just let them enjoy it.
Yeah, preach.
Yeah, it's you're gonna cry.
All right,
with that, we can wrap it up.
Yeah, so let's wrap up that wraps up another episode. So thank you to all our listeners as we bring dark to light on pop culture, comics, gaming, and more. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, tell your friends, leave us some constructive feedback, as well as comment, and subscribe on the YouTube. We definitely want to hear from you, so reach out to us at Sith Justice Warriors podcast @email.com or Twitter @JusticeSith. Articles will be in the descriptions. Check it out. Reach out to us with your thoughts. A little PSA is that I will be going on vacation starting next week for a few weeks. So the YouTube venue may come out a little bit later, if not. How do I say this? It may not come out every week like we normally do, but we do have our podcast avenue that Sirius and Lumpiat will take on in my absence. So if you want to hear more from us for the coming weeks, go to
Yes, on
Anchors.
Anchor. Yep.
Yeah.
And we will post the link as well on our Twitter. So definitely keep a lookout for that.
All right. So thank you everyone for joining us on the Sith side. Talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye, guys.